Just a little quick background on MyState. It's an accumulation of about 32 credit unions in Tasmania over many years. In the early 2000s, those credit unions, or mid 2000s, decided to demutualise and merged with what was then a listed Tasmanian-based trustee company, Tasmanian Perpetual Trustees, and in 2006 bought the Rock Building Society in central Queensland. And that's basically what MyState is concluded of at the moment. So 3 brands: MyState Bank in Tasmania, we converted to a bank late the year before last. The Rock is a division of MyState Bank, and Tasmanian Perpetual Trustees. As Zib said, we've got a balance sheet of, it's only a shade short of $4 billion as we speak at the moment. Last year, profit of, I'll see if I can go. It's the highlights of last year. So profit up 4.5% to $31.1 billion. Loan book grew by 10%. That's just about 1.5 times system. Our goal is to grow between 1.5 and 2 times system. And the loan figures are relatively public. They get sort of published too by APRA every month. So this financial year, our loan book's at around about 2 times system as well. So continuing that growth, we've grown by our loan book by about 30% in the last 2 financial years. Deposits also grown by nearly 9%. So our deposit to loan ratio is pretty stable. We've got a strong capital position of around 13%, about 11.5% Tier 1 capital. The rest of it's in Tier 2 hybrids. We issued the first lot of hybrids in financial year 16 in August last year at 500 basis points over bank bill swap rates, and we did another $10 million just last week at 425 over bank bill swap rates. So those margins have come in, which we're pretty happy about. What are we doing from an organisational perspective to? I'll perhaps just in the interest of time run through these couple of slides pretty quickly. Basically, they just show that our profit's been increasing over a period of time. Return on equity of about 10.6% for anything other than the major banks. That's pretty high. Most of our competitors have return on equity of mid-single digits. Ours prints about 10.6%. That's because of the combination of business we've got. The combination of credit unions out of Tasmania, which make up MyState Bank, mean we've got a fairly large non-interest-bearing transaction account balances. And also the trustee company produces nice, solid, stable returns and is capital light. So that gives us a superior ROE. Cost to income ratio has been coming down. We printed 63.2% this year. Our aim is to get ROE up to north of 11%, and our cost to income ratio down to below 63% over the coming years. In terms of growth, you can see there in the bottom left-hand corner our balance sheet growth. Before 2013, it was sort of running backwards. 2013, 2014 was pretty flat, and then in the last 2 years, we've managed to grow the balance sheet by nearly 30% in combined 2 years. I've been with the organisation just over 2 years. The previous managing director retired, and the board was looking for some change. They felt that the organisation had a lot of latent potential. I happen to agree with them, and they've given us some good rein to grow the business. Since that time, all but one of the management team has turned over, and many of middle management have also turned over. So we've taken an organisation that was, as someone said to me the other day, 1950 style bank, and we're in the process of trying to convert it to a more modern banking institution. So we've replaced one core banking system. We currently have 2 core banking systems. We're in the process of combining those 2 core banking systems. That will be done in the first half of next calendar year. We've got a new loan origination system in place, which means that brokers can lodge loans electronically rather than by paper and fax that they used to have to do. And yes, there were fax machines in our business only a very short time ago. We've consolidated our ADIs. We're in the process of final stage testing for a new internet and mobile banking platform, which we'll release later on this calendar year. In the process of also replacing our telephone banking system as well, building a data warehouse and a CRM. The business took out a lot of costs over the previous sort of 4 or 5 years. This is not a cost play in any way, shape or form. This is a revenue play. What we're doing is, as we put in new technology, digitise forms and take out effort and work out in the middle office, we're using that cost and reinvesting it back in the business in new skills, data analytics skills and digital skills to upskill the business. So we don't see our costs coming down at all. Our view is that costs will continue to rise at around about CPI, but the mix of costs in the business will change quite substantially. Just sort of finally, the things that we look at in terms of how we want to sort of set the business up to run. As I said, it's a revenue story from our perspective. It's really growing the top line rather than taking cost out of the bottom line. Most of the costs have been done. So growing the balance sheet, growing revenue, focusing on all of the fee income that we can generate, simplifying the business. So taking a lot of wrinkles out of the system, trying to make ourselves easier to do business with, simplifying product sets. We've got 2 different product sets for MyState and the Rock. The Rock product set is very complex. When we combine the 2 core banking systems, we'll close out the Rock product set and make that product set a whole lot simpler. If a product set is simpler, it's simpler for your customers. It's also simpler for staff. And that simplification takes a lot of cost and complexity out of the business as well. We're relocating our data centres. We've currently got 3 data centres, one in Rockhampton, where the Rock is, one in Hobart, and most of our data centres are here in North Sydney. We're moving Hobart and Rockhampton into North Sydney at the moment as part of creating that single core banking system as well. We've got quite a strong capital ratio, as I said, around about 13%. We're very comfortable with where that sits at the moment. Our credit quality is absolutely exemplary. Our bad and doubtful debts, 30 and 90 days. Delinquencies are below the major banks and well below regional banks. There's a slide in the deck that shows that. And with the growth in our balance sheet, sometimes you would expect to see our bad debts tick up. We've got the fewest amount of accounts beyond 30 days in the MyState bank book since MyState was created. So there is a very benign credit environment at the moment. I'd like to lay claim to all of that, but it's got a lot to do with current cash rates and interest rates and people prepaying debt. It's also got a lot to do with the fact that unemployment has been relatively stable and people aren't losing their jobs. The Tasmanian economy, we're quite exposed to the Tasmanian economy. Just over half of our balance sheet is housed in Tasmania. The Tasmanian economy is as good as it's been for the last sort of 20 years probably. It's not booming by any stretch of the imagination, but it's sort of sound, it's stable, and it's growing. And the population is growing in Tasmania as well. Another thing we look at is relationships and building relationships with our customers and communities. And as I said before, we're on a quite a large transformation program within the organisation, and we're funding that through our existing costs.